Lieutenant Maya Hassan adjusted her atmospheric mask as the pearlescent mists of Proxima B swirled around her patrol unit. The moisture sensors on her exosuit beeped softly, warning of the increasing density of the alien fog. She signaled her team to maintain formation as visibility dropped to less than 5 meters. "Command, this is Recon Team Epsilon. We're experiencing degraded visibility in Sector 7. Request permission to deploy sensory drones." Maya spoke into her comms, keeping her voice steady despite the growing unease in her chest. Only static answered. Maya frowned, tapping her communication module. The quantum-encrypted channel had never failed before, not even during the magnetic storms last month. "Alvarez, Chen, comms check," she called out. The silence that followed sent a chill down her spine that had nothing to do with Proxima's perpetual twilight climate. "Team, sound off," Maya ordered, turning to locate her squad. The swirling mist had thickened impossibly fast, obscuring even the enhanced visibility of her tactical display. Where 4 biosignatures should have registered, only hers remained, pulsing lonely on her heads-up display. Her training kicked in immediately. Maya activated her emergency beacon and drew her non-lethal pulse emitter. Something wasn't right. This wasn't natural fog behavior, even by Proxima's alien standards. A soft humming vibration penetrated the silence, raising the fine hairs on Maya's arms. Her suit's sensors screamed warnings as unknown energy signatures spiked across multiple spectrums. The mist before her began to glow with bioluminescent patterns, beautiful, hypnotic whirls of turquoise and silver. "Identify yourself," Maya commanded, raising her emitter as a vaguely humanoid shape coalesced from the glowing mist. The figure that emerged stood nearly 2 meters tall, with graceful limbs that seemed almost too slender to support its frame. Opalescent skin reflected the ambient light in subtle rainbow patterns, while large, multifaceted eyes regarded Maya with unmistakable intelligence. A Verosi, one of the most secretive and advanced species in known space. Maya maintained her defensive stance. The diplomatic briefings on Verosi were clear. They avoided direct contact with humans, communicating exclusively through automated intermediaries. Yet here one stood, barely 3 meters away, breaking centuries of protocol. "Lieutenant Maya Hassan," the alien spoke, its voice melodic and perfectly accented in standard English. "I am Elith, third emissary of the Verosi Council of Elders." Maya's surprise at hearing her name must have registered on her face because the alien skin rippled with patterns that xenolinguists had identified as indicating urgency. "How do you know my name?" Maya demanded, not lowering her weapon. "Where is my team?" "They are safe, temporarily displaced," Elith replied, glancing nervously at the swirling mists around them. "I have precious little time. What I am doing defies 10,000 years of our most sacred protocols." The alien's graceful hands produced a small crystalline object that pulsed with internal light, a data storage device unlike any Alliance technology Maya had encountered. "Take this," Elith said, extending the crystal. "It contains information vital to both our species. Your team will reappear once I depart, with no memory of their absence. The Coalition monitors all official communications, which is why I needed to create this momentary pocket in spacetime." Maya hesitated, years of security protocols warring with her curiosity. "What coalition?" "Our intelligence indicates the Verosi are isolationists." "Everything you believe about us is carefully constructed," Elith whispered, the patterns on their skin darkening with what appeared to be fear. "For 50,000 years, we have watched over Earth, protected it, guided it. The truth is in this crystal." A distant sound, like crystal bells being struck, caused Elith to stiffen. "They've detected the anomaly. I must go." The alien pressed the crystal into Maya's reluctant hand. 3 days from now, these coordinates. Come alone if you wish to save both our peoples." A series of mathematical equations flashed across Elith's skin, burning themselves into Maya's memory with unexpected clarity. "Why me?" Maya asked as the mist began to envelop the alien once more. Elith's multifaceted eyes seemed to look through Maya rather than at her. Because you carry the convergence gene, you alone can interpret what the crystal contains. Before Maya could question further, her comm system crackled to life with urgent extraction orders. Simultaneously, her team reappeared around her, continuing conversations as if no interruption had occurred. The mist dissipated, revealing a normal Proximan landscape. Maya closed her fingers around the crystal, slipping it into her secure pocket as she responded to Command's increasingly concerned hails. Whatever had just happened, every instinct told her to keep it to herself, at least until she understood what convergence gene meant and why an advanced alien species would risk everything to place this knowledge in her hands. Maya paced the cramped confines of her apartment, the crystal clutched in her palm. She had feigned illness upon return to Earth Alliance headquarters, something completely out of character for her spotless 15-year service record. The debriefing officers had seemed suspicious but couldn't deny her mandatory recovery period after Proxima B exposure. The crystal pulsed with a gentle blue light that seemed to intensify whenever she focused directly on it. 3 attempts to scan it with standard Alliance equipment had resulted in nothing but equipment malfunctions and error messages. Whatever this technology was, it existed well beyond current human capabilities. A soft knock at her door froze Maya mid-stride. She quickly secured the crystal in her biometric safe and checked the security feed. Dr. Sanjay Chen stood outside, looking nervously over his shoulder. "You're taking a risk coming here," Maya said after verifying his identity and letting him in. "The Alliance is monitoring all former xenolinguistics personnel." Sanjay removed his rain-spattered coat. "Your message mentioned Verosi communication patterns. I couldn't exactly ignore that, considering I lost my entire career for suggesting they existed. 5 years ago, Sanjay had been the Alliance's most promising xenolinguist until he published a controversial paper suggesting that seemingly random patterns in deep space radiation contained linguistic markers matching theoretical Verosi communication systems. The scientific community had crucified him, and the Alliance had buried his research. I encountered one," Maya said simply, watching his expression shift from skepticism to shock. "Face to face, on Proxima B. It spoke perfect English and gave me this." She retrieved the crystal, which immediately brightened in Sanjay's presence. His eyes widened as he cautiously accepted it. "It's responding to you," Maya observed. "Incredible," Sanjay whispered, examining it from all angles. "The crystalline structure matches exactly what I theorized based on the radiation patterns." He looked up at Maya. "Did it speak its name?" "Elith, 3rd emissary of their Elder Council." Sanjay nearly dropped the crystal. "That's impossible. According to my research, the 3rd emissary position was specifically responsible for Earth monitoring." He set the crystal on Maya's kitchen table with trembling hands. "What exactly did it say to you?" Maya recounted the encounter in detail, watching Sanjay's expression grow increasingly troubled. "Convergence gene," he repeated. "And these coordinates." He studied the sequence Maya had memorized. "These aren't spatial coordinates. They're frequency harmonics, a tuning formula." Before Maya could respond, the crystal began emitting a soft humming noise. In response to the sound, Maya's personal terminal activated independently, its screen filling with scrolling alien symbols. "It's interfacing with your technology," Sanjay breathed, his fingers hovering over the symbols. "And I recognize this. It's not just Verosi language, it's their mathematical notation system. The crystal is translating itself." For the next 3 hours, they watched in amazement as the crystal downloaded information into Maya's terminal, bypassing security protocols that should have been impenetrable. Finally, the screen stabilized, displaying what appeared to be a video file. "Should we?" Maya asked, her finger hovering over the playback sensor. Sanjay nodded. "Whatever this is, Elith risked everything to get it to you." The video began with a stunning image. Earth, but from orbit, in a time before human satellites existed. The timestamp indicated it was from approximately 65 million years ago. They watched in silent awe as a massive asteroid approached Earth's atmosphere, only to be intercepted by several sleek vessels that matched no known design. The ships deployed some kind of energy field, altering the asteroid's trajectory just enough to prevent a direct impact. "They saved us," Sanjay whispered. "Not all life, but enough to allow mammals to survive and eventually evolve." The video continued, showing brief clips across Earth's history. Varosi observers documenting human evolution with careful notes, councils meeting to discuss intervention protocols during critical moments, and most disturbingly, evidence of Varosi technology systematically erasing their presence from human historical records. The final segment showed a Varosi elder speaking directly to camera. The translator rendered the words in perfect English. "To the convergence carrier who receives this message, you are the culmination of our greatest experiment and our deepest hope. Humanity was never meant to face the harbingers alone. The genetic markers we've cultivated for 50,000 generations have finally aligned. The awakening begins now." The screen went dark as proximity alarms blared across Maya's apartment. Security feeds showed Alliance special forces surrounding the building. They tracked the data transfer, Maya realized, grabbing her emergency pack. Sanjay quickly transferred the crystal's contents to a secure quantum drive. "There's a maintenance tunnel in the basement level. We need to reach those coordinates before they catch us." As they prepared to flee, Maya's terminal displayed one final message. "Project Convergence activation detected. Harbinger vessels approaching Sol system. Estimated arrival 72 hours. The shuttle bay on Europa wasn't on any official Alliance maps. Maya piloted the borrowed research vessel through the icy plumes erupting from the moon's surface, following coordinates that seemed to lead directly into solid ice. Sanjay monitored the quantum drive containing the crystal's data, occasionally glancing nervously at the proximity scanners. "Alliance pursuit ships are holding at Jupiter's orbit," he reported. "Seems they're hesitant to follow us this deep into the exclusion zone." Maya nodded grimly. The Europa Preservation Treaty prohibited all vessels from approaching within 500 kilometers of the moon's surface after the discovery of primitive aquatic life forms beneath its icy crust. Breaking the treaty meant court-martial at best, execution for ecological terrorism at worst. "We should see the entry point any moment now," Maya said, studying the coordinates Elith had provided. "Assuming it exists." As if in response, a section of ice directly ahead began to shimmer, revealing what appeared to be a perfectly camouflaged hangar entrance. The shuttle's controls suddenly locked, and they found themselves being guided by an automated docking system into a vast underground chamber. "This isn't human construction," Sanjay whispered as they stepped out into a cavernous dock that seamlessly blended organic and technological elements. Bioluminescent patterns similar to those on Elith's skin provided soft illumination along curved walls that seemed almost alive. "Some of these designs look familiar," Maya observed, pointing to symbols etched into what appeared to be control panels. "They match ancient petroglyphs found in caves on Earth. Archaeologists always dismissed them as primitive astronomical observations." "Because the Varosi erased themselves from our history," Sanjay concluded. "But they left breadcrumbs." They followed a pulsing light path deeper into the facility, eventually reaching a circular chamber where water from Europa's subsurface ocean flowed upward in a gravity-defying column. Within the liquid column, a familiar figure waited. "Elith," Maya acknowledged, approaching the water barrier. "You've come," the Varosi emissary replied, voice somehow carrying through the liquid medium. "And you've brought the linguist whose work came dangerously close to exposing us. Brave, but expected from one carrying the convergence gene. You promised answers," Maya said firmly. "What is this place? What am I carrying that's so important? And what are the harbingers?" Elith gestured, and the water column expanded to envelop all three of them. Strangely, Maya found she could breathe normally within it. Suspended in the liquid, a spherical device activated between them, projecting three-dimensional images that surrounded them like stars. "This is a memory sphere," Elith explained. It will allow me to show you truths without the limitations of language. The images coalesced into a vision of ancient Earth, where sleek vessels, clearly Varosi, landed near groups of early hominids. The scenes shifted, showing Varosi scientists collecting genetic samples, then working in laboratories. We arrived on Earth nearly 8 million years ago. Elith's voice explained as the images flowed, not as conquerors, but as refugees. Our civilization was ancient even then, but we faced extinction from entities we called the Harbingers, beings composed of dark energy that consumed civilizations which achieved technological advancement without corresponding emotional development. The images showed terrifying shadow-like entities engulfing entire star systems. Our scientists determined that our evolution had prioritized logical processing and technological advancement at the expense of emotional intelligence, making us perfect targets for the Harbingers, who feed on sentient species lacking empathic defenses. In desperation, we developed a radical solution. The scene shifted to show Varosi scientists working with human DNA. We modified your ancestors, not to make them like us, but to balance what we had lost. We enhanced emotional processing centers, empathic neural networks, and adaptive creativity, traits our species had evolved beyond. The convergence gene was our final gift, a genetic sequence that would eventually produce humans capable of reuniting our divided evolutionary paths. Maya watched in stunned silence as the images showed Varosi guardians subtly guiding human development throughout history, deflecting cosmic threats, and protecting Earth from discovery by other potentially hostile species. We became your silent guardians, knowing that someday our divided paths must reconverge to face the Harbingers. That day has come, Lieutenant Hassan. You are not merely human. You carry the fully activated convergence gene, the bridge between our species. Before Maya could process this revelation, alarm signals pulsed through the facility. The memory sphere deactivated as Elith's skin patterns shifted to warning configurations. Multiple breaches detected. The Varosi announced, "The Coalition has found us, and Alliance forces approach from orbit. We must reach the ancient transit network immediately." Coalition? Sanjay questioned as they were expelled from the water column. Varosi who believe humans should never learn of our shared origins, Elith explained grimly, leading them toward a hidden doorway. They've monitored your civilization for millennia, ensuring all evidence of our existence was erased. And now they've come to erase you as well. Maya regained consciousness slowly, her mind struggling to process what her eyes were seeing. She floated in a vast chamber that seemed to exist between dimensions, stars visible through transparent walls that occasionally rippled like water. The architecture defied Euclidean geometry, with pathways and platforms extending in physically impossible directions. "Where are we?" she whispered, realizing Sanjay and Elith floated nearby. "What happened after the attack?" "The ancient transit network activated," Elith explained, skin patterns shifting to convey concern. "It was designed to transport us to safety, but something, or someone, redirected our path. We've been brought before the Cosmic Tribunal." As if summoned by the words, 12 distinct energy formations materialized around them, beings composed of light, information, and possibilities. They arranged themselves in a circle, each manifestation unique in color and pattern. Maya's enhanced perception, somehow heightened in this place, recognized them as representatives of ancient civilizations. "Humans have breached the dimensional barriers," announced one entity, its voice resonating directly in Maya's mind. "Their quantum entanglement experiments have created ripples that alert the Harbingers to this sector." "The human carries the convergence sequence," countered another, its form shifting between blue and gold patterns. "The Varosi gambit may yet succeed." A third entity, darker and more ominous than the others, moved closer to Maya. "The human must be tested. We must determine if the evolutionary experiment has succeeded." The chamber transformed around them, resolving into a perfect simulation of an Alliance diplomatic chamber. Maya found herself seated at a negotiation table across from representatives of 7 alien species, all displaying signs of extreme distress. "This is Simulation Alpha," Elith whispered beside her. "React as you naturally would. Your responses are being evaluated." A holographic display activated, showing a star system with multiple inhabited worlds facing imminent destruction from stellar instability. Resources existed to save some, but not all populations. Lieutenant Hassan addressed an alien dignitary. "As Alliance representative, you must allocate evacuation resources. Our mathematical models indicate optimal efficiency would save the 3 most technologically advanced civilizations and abandon the others." Maya studied the data, noting details others might miss. "These calculations prioritize technological preservation over total lives saved," she observed, "and they fail to account for cultural preservation metrics." She reconfigured the evacuation plan, creating a hybrid approach that saved key knowledge centers while maximizing population preservation across all species. "We distribute resources based on preservation of evolutionary diversity, not technological advancement," she explained. "Each civilization contributes unique adaptations that strengthen our collective resilience." The simulation shifted before she could see the results, transforming into a medical crisis scenario. A pandemic threatened multiple species, with limited vaccine availability. Through simulation after simulation, Maya consistently found approaches that balanced logical efficiency with empathic consideration, solutions that other species would miss by leaning too heavily toward either extreme. After the 7th scenario, the simulations dissolved, returning them to the dimensional chamber where the tribunal entities observed with increased luminosity. "Impossible," declared one being. "The simulations cannot be manipulated, yet she consistently finds paths outside our projected outcomes. Her neural patterns show simultaneous activation of logical and empathic processing," noted another, extending tendrils of energy that scanned Maya. The Verosi modifications evolved beyond their design parameters. The tribunal beings communicated among themselves in patterns of light and mathematical equations that Maya somehow understood despite their complexity. They were debating her significance, and by extension, humanity's place in the cosmic order. Suddenly, alarm patterns cascaded through the chamber. Viewports opened in the fabric of reality, showing multiple dimensions simultaneously. In each view, shadow-like vessels approached different sectors of space, all converging toward the Sol system. "Harbinger vessels detected," announced the central tribunal entity. "They have traced the quantum breach and located Earth. Estimated arrival: 12 standard hours." Panic flared through Maya. 12 hours. "We need to warn Earth. Prepare defenses." "Conventional defenses are useless against the Harbingers," Elith explained, patterns shifting to deep concern. "They exist partially outside normal space-time. Only beings with sufficient emotional logical integration can perceive their true forms and counter their influence." The tribunal beings gathered closer, their energy forms intensifying. "The human experiment has shown unexpected results," they announced in unison. "The convergence gene has created neural pathways that may resist Harbinger influence. An emergency vote is required on humanity's galactic status." Maya felt the weight of judgment as the 12 ancient entities deliberated the fate of her entire species. The Cosmic Tribunal hadn't merely been testing her abilities. They were determining whether humanity deserved protection or abandonment in the face of an approaching threat that had destroyed civilizations far more advanced than Earth's. "Prepare yourself, Lieutenant Hassan," Elith whispered as the tribunal beings reached their decision. "Whatever comes next will redefine everything their species believes about its place in the universe." The tribunal chamber transformed once more, the dimensional walls dissolving to reveal what appeared to be an ancient archive. Crystalline structures housed mathematical equations that glowed with inner light, their complexity beyond anything Maya had encountered in human mathematics. These weren't mere calculations, they were predictions, probability matrices stretching across millennia. "The convergence prophecy," Elith explained, approaching one particularly intricate equation system. "Created by our ancestors 20,000 years ago, when they first detected the cyclic nature of Harbinger incursions. Maya found herself drawn to the equations, her mind processing them with unexpected clarity. As she approached, portions of the crystalline matrices activated, illuminating in response to her presence. "Remarkable," whispered a tribunal entity that had followed them into the archive. "The human neural patterns are automatically solving dormant sections." Maya watched in amazement as mathematical solutions cascaded through the crystal lattice, equations resolving themselves in flowing light patterns. The mathematics told a story, one of divergent evolutionary paths deliberately separated, designed to rejoin at a specific cosmic moment. The prophecy isn't metaphorical, Maya realized, understanding flowing through her mind. It's a complex probability calculation predicting evolutionary convergence. Sanjay studied the activating patterns with wonder. It's describing genetic drift across multiple species, optimized for specific traits, with humanity as the control group. A three-dimensional projection materialized, showing DNA strands from various species, with human and Varosi sequences highlighted. The strands rotated, sections illuminating to show complementary structures. "Our ancestors calculated that separating our evolutionary paths was necessary," Elith explained. "Varosi evolved toward perfect logic, but lost emotional depth. Humans were guided toward emotional intelligence while maintaining analytical capabilities. Neither path alone could defend against the Harbingers." The projection shifted to show Maya's unique genetic structure, with certain sequences pulsing in synchronization with the prophetic equations. "Lieutenant Hassan, your genetic structure contains perfectly balanced logical and empathic neural pathways," continued Elith. "But this wasn't random mutation. The mathematical models show your specific genetic sequence was cultivated across 15 generations." Maya felt both wonder and unease wash over her. "Cultivated? You mean my entire family line was engineered?" Holographic simulations appeared, showing seemingly random events throughout Maya's life. Her childhood rescue during a conflict zone evacuation, her specialized training selection, even her assignment to Proxima b. Statistical analyses overlaid each event, showing probability deviations that suggested intervention. "Not engineered, but guided," corrected a tribunal entity. "Subtle probability adjustments across decades, ensuring optimal development of the convergence potential." The revelation triggered conflicting emotions in Maya. Wonder at the cosmic significance, anger at the manipulation of her life, and a profound sense of responsibility. This complex emotional response, simultaneously embracing and questioning her role, caused the final section of the prophecy to activate. The completed equations revealed something unexpected. The prophecy didn't end with diplomatic mediation between species. It calculated a transformation, genetic reharmonization between humans and Varosi to activate dormant potential in both species. The final stage requires voluntary genetic recombination, Elith explained, skin patterns shifting to express profound significance. A willing human convergence carrier and a Varosi elder must synchronize genetic information, creating a template for integration that preserves individual identity while enabling shared consciousness. A biological bridge between species, Sanjay translated. Understanding dawning. Not assimilation, but complementary integration. The archive chamber trembled as alarm signals pulsed through the dimensional space. Viewports opened showing Harbinger vessels entering the outer solar system, moving faster than previously calculated. "They've detected the prophecy activation," announced the tribunal entity. "The mathematical harmonies are creating quantum signatures they can track." Maya studied the prophecy's final calculations with growing certainty. The reharmonization procedure. It's not just about reuniting separated evolutionary paths. It creates a unique consciousness frequency that disrupts Harbinger perception. She turned to face the gathered entities, her decision crystallizing. "If I understand correctly, I need to undergo this procedure to activate whatever defense the Varosi ancestors designed." She looked directly at Elith. "And you're the Varosi counterpart mentioned in the prophecy. The third emissary position was created specifically for this moment." Elith's skin patterns confirmed Maya's deduction. The procedure carries significant risk to both participants. Consciousness merging has never been attempted between our species. The prophecy calculates a 63% probability of success and complete neural dissolution for both participants if it fails. Maya watched the viewports showing harbinger vessels approaching her homeworld. Earth remained completely unaware of the existential threat bearing down upon it. The choice before her was clear, despite the personal cost. The tribunal must render judgment, declared the central entity as the archive chamber reverted to the dimensional court. Does humanity merit intervention against the harbinger threat, knowing the risk to cosmic balance that the convergence procedure represents? As the ancient beings deliberated, Maya realized that the future of both human and Varoshi civilization hung on their decision. A judgment based not just on her actions, but on humanity's potential to transcend its evolutionary limitations. The crucible must be completed before judgment can be rendered, announced the central tribunal entity. The dimensional chamber reconfigured itself, transforming into a series of interconnected testing environments that folded through space in impossible geometries. What is the crucible? Maya asked, watching as pathways formed between various simulation chambers. The final verification, Elith explained, skin patterns reflecting concern. No species has successfully completed it in 7,000 years. It tests the limits of adaptive potential, scenarios specifically designed to be unsolvable by conventional approaches. The tribunal entities surrounded Maya. Lieutenant Maya Hassan, you will face historically documented extinction events from across the galaxy. With each scenario, parameters will shift unpredictably. Your performance will determine humanity's classification in the cosmic hierarchy. Before Maya could respond, the environment changed dramatically. She found herself alone on what appeared to be a dying world. Toxic atmosphere, failing biosphere, and a population of billions facing extinction. Information flooded her consciousness. This was Centauri Prime, whose civilization had collapsed after exhausting their planetary resources. A holographic interface presented her with standard options. Evacuate the intellectual elite, implement martial law to control remaining resources, or initiate a risky atmospheric modification procedure with only 12% chance of success. Maya studied the data, looking beyond the obvious parameters. The simulation expected her to choose among predetermined paths, but the Varoshi ancestors had given humans something unique: the ability to question established boundaries. These options assume the problem must be solved within planetary constraints, Maya announced. She reconfigured the simulation parameters, revealing a solution the builders hadn't considered, redirecting the civilization's remaining resources to construct atmospheric processors on the system's outer moons, creating habitable environments that could sustain the population while the homeworld recovered naturally. Boundary violation detected, announced the monitoring systems as the simulation dissolved. Proceeding to elevated challenge. Scenario after scenario unfolded, each designed to force impossible choices. A pathogen that caused aggression in one species but was necessary for survival in another. A sentient star threatening to go supernova unless specific planets were sacrificed. A temporal paradox requiring intervention that would erase the intervener from existence. With each challenge, Maya consistently found third alternatives beyond the binary choices presented. Rather than accepting the parameters as given, she questioned fundamental assumptions underlying each scenario. After the seventh simulation, Maya returned to the tribunal chamber, exhausted but resolute. The energy beings communicated among themselves in patterns that suggested both surprise and concern. The human has demonstrated unprecedented adaptive problem-solving, observed one entity. She consistently refuses false dilemmas and identifies integration pathways that our simulation architects failed to anticipate. The final test remains, announced the central entity. The chamber transformed one last time, creating a perfect replica of Earth orbit. Holographic displays showed harbinger vessels approaching the planet while, simultaneously, coalition Varoshi ships targeted key human installations. Choose, instructed the tribunal. You may direct our intervention to save Earth by eliminating the coalition threat, or protect both human and Verosi civilizations by sacrificing yourself to the convergence procedure with only 22% survival probability. Maya studied the simulation carefully, noting subtle flaws in its construction. This test is fundamentally flawed, she declared. Your probability calculations assume consciousness transference, follows standard quantum limitations. But if the convergence gene functions as theorized, it creates an entanglement exception. She approached the mathematical representation of the scenario, manipulating quantum variables directly. By synchronizing human creativity with Verosi preservation instinct, we create a consciousness network that maintains individual identity while enabling unified response. Her calculations revealed a third path, complex but viable. The test assumes these are opposing forces that require sacrifice, Maya continued, but they're complementary evolutionary adaptations designed to reintegrate. The entire prophecy is built on this principle. The tribunal entities flared with increased energy as Maya's solution reconfigured their carefully constructed test. Her approach violated cosmic separation principles maintained for millions of years, proposing controlled genetic reharmonization while preserving individual identity. The human solution requires dismantling fundamental separation barriers between conscious species, protested one entity. Such integration has been prohibited since the consciousness wars. Because integration was forced upon unwilling participants, Maya countered. This proposal requires voluntary synchronization, preserving autonomy while enabling collective response. The tribunal chamber erupted in patterns of light as the ancient entities debated violently. Maya's proposal challenged millennia of cosmic governance based on strict evolutionary separation of species. Throughout the heated deliberation, viewports showed harbinger vessels accelerating toward Earth, having detected the unique quantum signatures of the tribunal proceedings. Their trajectory analysis revealed they were specifically targeting Earth's quantum research facilities, the source of the dimensional breach. As debate raged among the tribunal entities, Elith approached Maya, skin patterns conveying both hope and apprehension. Whether they approve or not, the Verosi emissary whispered, "You've proven the experiment successful. You've demonstrated exactly what our ancestors hoped to cultivate, the ability to perceive integration pathways where others see only separation." The central tribunal entity suddenly flared brighter than the others, commanding attention. "Emergency protocols invoked," it announced. "Harbinger approach vector indicates primary Earth target acquisition. Tribunal divided on intervention authorization." Maya watched the approaching vessels with growing determination. With or without tribunal approval, she now understood what needed to be done, and why her unique genetic structure made her the key to activating defenses designed millennia ago by Verosi visionaries who believed in humanity's potential. "We cannot wait for unanimous consensus," declared one of the tribunal entities, its energy form separating from the others. "I invoke the Emergency Preservation Protocol." 6 other entities joined it, breaking from the tribunal circle to form a separate coalition. The central entity's light dimmed in what appeared to be resignation. 7 invoked the protocol. "The coalition is sanctioned," it announced. "Be warned, you act without full tribunal authority. The consequences rest with your consciousnesses alone." The newly formed coalition entities surrounded Maya, Sanjay, and Elith. Space folded around them, and Maya experienced a disorienting shift as they materialized in a massive chamber unlike anything she had seen before, a biotechnology hub hidden deep beneath Earth's Mariana Trench. "The ancestral defense installation," Elith explained, skin patterns shifting to express wonder. "Constructed during Earth's early development as humanity's emergency shield." The chamber hummed with dormant energy, ancient systems beginning to activate in response to their presence. Crystalline displays illuminated, showing status reports in Verosi mathematical notation. "Coalition members are dispatching representatives and resources," announced one of the energy entities. We have less than 6 hours before Harbinger vessels achieve weapons range. Maya studied the installation's central platform, clearly designed for the reharmonization procedure described in the prophecy. How does this work? She asked Ilith. What exactly happens during genetic reharmonization? Your consciousness will temporarily merge with mine, Ilith explained, approaching the platform. If successful, we'll create a template for integration that can be shared with others. A bridge between species that maintains individual identity while enabling unified response. And if unsuccessful? Sanjay asked quietly. Neural dissolution for both participants, Ilith acknowledged. But the prophecy indicates Lieutenant Hassan's convergence gene creates a 67% probability of success. The chamber trembled as massive ships docked in underwater bays. Representatives from 7 advanced civilizations began arriving, beings of various forms united by the emergency protocol. They brought specialists, technologies, and resources, transforming the ancient installation into Earth's first truly interspecies command center. The coalition forces are establishing perimeter defenses, reported a crystalline entity that materialized beside them. But conventional weapons cannot harm Harbinger vessels. Our only hope lies in the reharmonization procedure. Maya studied the incoming data streams showing Harbinger approach vectors. They were deliberately targeting Earth's quantum research facilities, the source of the dimensional breach that had attracted their attention. How many people at those research sites? She asked. Approximately 12,000 scientists and support personnel, Sanjay answered after consulting a terminal, plus surrounding civilian populations. Maya's decision crystallized. As an Alliance soldier, her oath had always been to protect human life. But now that responsibility extended far beyond what she had imagined possible. I'm ready, she told Ilith, stepping onto the platform. Let's begin the procedure. The reharmonization chamber sealed around them, as coalition specialists monitored from outside. Bioluminescent fluid filled the space, connecting their nervous systems as ancient machinery activated. Maya felt her consciousness expanding, touching Ilith's thoughts as genetic information transferred between them. Memories flowed like water. She experienced Ilith's childhood on a Verosi homeworld, felt the weight of 50,000 years of guardianship, understood the profound hope the Verosi had placed in humanity's development. Simultaneously, Ilith experienced Maya's life. Her training, her friendships, her doubts and dreams. The profound emotional depth of human experience overwhelmed the Verosi's logical mind, even as Maya's consciousness expanded to encompass Verosi mathematical perception. Outside the chamber, monitoring equipment registered unprecedented neural synchronization. It's working, Sanjay reported to the coalition representatives. Their consciousness patterns are harmonizing while maintaining distinct identities. The procedure reached its critical phase as genetic information recombined. Maya felt her perception expanding beyond normal spacetime, glimpsing quantum possibilities and briefly perceiving potential futures. Billions of probability threads, most ending in destruction, but a few thin pathways leading to survival. When the chamber finally opened, Maya emerged transformed. Her eyes now contained faint bioluminescent patterns matching Verosi physiology, while Ilith's skin displayed subtle human characteristics. More significantly, their neural patterns had permanently altered, creating a template for further integration. I can see them, Maya whispered, looking at real-time sensor data of the approaching Harbinger vessels. They're not just ships, they're extensions of a collective consciousness that exists partially outside normal spacetime. Coalition technicians worked frantically to implement Maya's insights, developing a planetary quantum shield based on the newly harmonized consciousness template. Volunteers from all 7 coalition species connected to interface nodes, adding their mental energy to strengthen the defense network. Harbinger vessels entering Earth orbit, announced the monitoring systems. Planetary shield at 78% capacity. Maya connected to the central defense node, her enhanced perception guiding the shield's quantum frequencies. She could sense the Harbinger's confusion as they encountered a defense unlike any they had faced before, one based on the integrated consciousness of multiple species working in harmony rather than opposition. Shield holding at critical interfaces, reported a coalition technician, but power systems are approaching maximum capacity. We can't maintain this indefinitely. Through her enhanced perception, Maya glimpsed a possibility that none of the simulations had predicted. A third option beyond fight or surrender that might change everything about this ancient conflict. The quantum shield flickered as Harbinger vessels positioned themselves above Earth's major population centers. Alarms blared throughout the underwater installation as power systems reached critical limits. Shield integrity at 34% and falling, reported a coalition technician. Complete failure estimated in 17 minutes. Maya stood motionless in the control chamber, her enhanced perception processing information at unprecedented speeds. Through her connection with Elith, she could sense something the others couldn't, a pattern within the Harbinger attack formation. They weren't preparing to destroy Earth. They were establishing a specific resonance frequency. "They're not attacking randomly," she announced. "They're searching for something." Maya closed her eyes, focusing on the quantum frequencies the Harbingers were generating. With her newly integrated consciousness, she could perceive their true nature, not mindless destroyers, but ancient beings seeking specific evolutionary patterns. "I understand now," she whispered, eyes opening with newfound clarity. The Harbingers don't seek destruction for its own sake. They're collectors of consciousness, absorbing unique evolutionary paths into their collective. For millennia, species either surrendered individuality or fought to extinction. Sanjay approached cautiously. "What are you saying?" "There's a third option," Maya replied. "No species has ever attempted communication on their frequency level. They perceive resistance as rejection and surrender as acceptance, but no one has offered exchange." The coalition representatives gathered as Maya outlined her unprecedented proposal, reconfiguring the quantum shield to function as a communication channel, transmitting the full emotional logical experience of being human directly into the Harbinger consciousness. "Instead of fighting or surrendering, we offer understanding," she explained. "We transmit art, music, mathematics, emotional memories, philosophical paradoxes, the entire spectrum of human experience." "Impossible," protested one coalition representative. "The energy requirements alone can be met by channeling power through the reharmonized neural template," Elith completed, joining Maya at the control interface. "Our ancestors designed this installation for precisely this purpose, not as a weapon, but as a bridge." As the shield continued deteriorating, coalition technicians worked frantically to implement Maya's reconfiguration. The installation's ancient systems responded to the harmonized commands of both human and Varoshi neural patterns, transforming from defensive barrier to communication array. "Ready on your command," Sanjay reported. Maya took a deep breath and activated the transmission. Through the modified shield, Earth broadcast something no species had ever offered the Harbingers: willing communication containing the full spectrum of human consciousness, blended with Varoshi perception. The effect was immediate. The Harbinger vessels ceased their approach patterns, entering a holding formation that suggested confusion. For 3 tense minutes, no response came. Then, unexpectedly, a reply materialized, not as weapons fire, but as a complex quantum signature directed back through the communication array. The incoming signal contained patterns unlike anything in known space, the first genuine Harbinger communication attempt in recorded galactic history. With her enhanced perception, Maya could interpret the fundamental meaning: curiosity. "They're responding," she announced to the stunned coalition representatives. They'd never encountered willing communication before. Every previous species either attacked or surrendered. Over the next 72 hours, Maya served as the primary interface between humanity and the Harbinger consciousness. Through her unique neural structure, neither fully human nor Varoshi, she translated concepts between fundamentally different perceptual frameworks. The coalition maintained defensive readiness throughout the tense negotiations, but gradually, a revolutionary understanding emerged. The Harbingers had been seeking connection, not domination. Their method of consciousness absorption had evolved from their inability to comprehend individuated existence, until now. 1 year later, Maya stood before the newly established Convergence Summit in Geneva. Representatives from 17 civilizations, including reformed Harbinger envoys, gathered to formalize the most significant diplomatic achievement in galactic history. The truth that stunned all species has become our foundation. Maya addressed the assembly, her eyes showing the subtle bioluminescence of her transformed genetics. Evolutionary diversity creates resilience. The separation of paths was never meant to be permanent. It was preparation for this moment of understanding. The summit ratified the Convergence Accords, establishing protected evolutionary pathways for developing species while creating opportunities for voluntary consciousness exchange between advanced civilizations. Earth, once isolated and unaware of its cosmic significance, became the central hub for this new interspecies community. In a private moment following the ceremony, Maya found Ilith waiting in the diplomatic garden. "Did you know?" she asked the Verosi emissary who had become part of her extended consciousness. "When you stopped me on Proxima b, did you know it would lead to this?" Ilith's skin patterns shifted in what Maya now recognized as the equivalent of a smile. The prophecy showed possibilities, not certainties. Our ancestors hoped for reconnection, but you, humanity, exceeded every calculation. No mathematical model predicted that you would offer understanding to the very beings who threatened your existence. Maya watched as human children played nearby with young representatives of 7 different species, their natural acceptance of difference embodying the future they had secured.